What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Jenks Island Podcast, the only NFL podcast where you get your takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback and his friends. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, joined again by my great friend and co-host, Sterb. And as you can see on the screen here today, we are giving you guys a mock draft. We're doing a 12-team, 2-flex PPR mock draft for you guys, getting you guys prepped for the mock drafts or for your actual drafts. I know the past couple weeks, people have started drafting, and we kind of talked about this last week before our sleepers episode. We said how people are drafting way ahead of time. No draft should really be done for a redraft league, at least until Labor Day, especially with the league starting this year on September 9th, I want to say. It is just so early. We just saw Ashton Genty in an injury scare happen. And the draft, the variety of picks, or what's it called? The disparity in picks on which Mike Washington and Ashton Genty, the fluctuation there between their ADP on just that day alone. Sleeper put out a post, insane. And it just happened because of Ashton Genty's rumored injury, and then it ended up being just a sprained ankle. So like whoever got Ashton Genty late in those drafts, maybe like that's an instant help to win the league if you've drafted the rest of your team well, of course. But anyways, we're gonna be giving a mock draft for you guys. Before we get into that, make sure to check out our ESPN NFL Pick'em group down below in the description of the episode. We are going to be giving away a jersey to whoever wins that group. It is free to join. We just ask that you subscribe to the channel, join the Discord for all the information, and all of that will be down in the link below. But anyways, let's get right into this mock Sterb. As you can see, you are at the number 4 spot on this draft. We have 12 teams here, so we kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a spaced out perspective. Sturb's going to be at 4. I'm at 8. Sturb, what are you thinking here at the 4 spot?
So at the 4 spot, I do think it's kind of like a pretty good tier of the first 3 guys. Like if any of those guys fell to me, it's Gibbs, Bijan, and Jamar off the board. Here, I think I would take Puka in his pretty like stamped own tier here. So I'm going to go ahead and take Puka, but I would love to come away with a running back in the first round, but also like the upside of Puka in this offense is obviously very, very, very good. He was the wide receiver 1 last year in points per game. So I feel pretty comfortable about getting Puka at 104 here.
Yeah, I really like that pick. My number 8, I love being kind of in this back third of the draft here. And if you're in a 10-man league, I think number 8 is like a great spot to be too as well. I love taking Amon-Ra St. Brown in this area because he's such a lock to be a top 5 receiver production value. The last 3 or 4 years, I want to say he was wide receiver 4 on the dot. So he's been very productive for teams, just very, very consistent. And that's kind of all you want if you're looking at a top 10, top 12 pick later in that draft round. That being said, in a year where running back value is being so overplayed, and a lot of people are drafting running backs as early as possible, I think that kind of opens my eyes to Jonathan Taylor, who will be getting a good workload this year. Obviously, with Alec Pierce still nursing the injury, you've seen him walking around on the field. His ankle still is clearly not okay. And then you have Josh Downs, obviously, and you have Tyler Warren. But I still believe that they are going to rely on Jonathan Taylor a lot this upcoming season. So give me Jonathan Taylor here with this pick. Again, like I said, normally I would go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he was picked number 7. So give me JT here. Then James Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Ashton Genty, Saquon, Jefferson, Chan, London, Hampton's gone. If I wanted to, I could definitely go double running back here and take my Lord and Savior, Chase Brown. For all of the Jenks Island stands out there, you guys know that
Over Kenneth
Chase
Walker?
Brown, 100%. I'm 100% over
way.
Kenneth Walker. 100%. Chase Brown, in terms of just usage when Joe Burrow is on the field, and that's a big if. I will say it's a big if Joe Burrow is healthy and on any given Sunday, because Joe Burrow, we've seen, cannot stay healthy. And we saw the Bengals O-line look like toast in preseason week 1 against the second string defense. So will Joe Burrow stay healthy? That's the real question mark here. But when he is healthy, Chase Brown is a league winner. If you look at the end of his last season, he put up huge numbers. And I think he would be able to do that again if you wanted to take him. That being said, you got AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker, or Trey McBride if you're in a tight end premium league. I think I've been talking about it all season, Sterb. I think I have to just stick with my guy I think I have to stick with my guy. I do like Kenneth Walker in the Chiefs offense. He's going to be a red zone threat. He's going to be given touchdowns left and right if they reach the 1 yard line. But Chase Brown, he's just my guy. I got to go Chase here. I know you disagree. I know you disagree, Sturb, but give me Chase Brown here. What are your thoughts on your next pick?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to go Chase Brown in the second round, but like Kenneth Walker, like we mentioned, I probably have him as like the 11th or 12th player off the board just in general. So honestly, like this range that I ended up at here, I'm not really in love with. I would really love to come
Mhm.
away with a running back. But like we look at the running backs on the board, it's Jeremiah Love, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, Brees Hall, Javante, like kind of all those tier one, tier two running backs are kind of gone, and I don't
Mhm.
really love the Trey McBride staring me in the face. Yeah, I mean, just the Cardinals situation. Like, I really don't know what it's going to look like. I think you could argue George Pickens here, um, or Nico. I mean, George Pickens and Nico are like obviously they're like two of my favorite players, nonetheless, wide receivers in the whole
Mhm.
league. But man, I really just wish like a running back fell to me here. Um, Man, this is tough. Like this is the worst
Do you
possible run out I could
do
possibly
you
have.
think do you think Jeremiah Love will be fantasy viable this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think he will be. Like we talked about it previously, where like we've been kind of getting a bad run out with rookies in the past couple years, but people forget that like these elite running back talents, like they often are very very good producers when they step on the
Mhm.
field. It's just like at the time that we're recording this, he still has some like injury questions. We're not sure when he's going to be back for the season.
Yep.
Otherwise, like I would consider him a little bit more heavily here. But I think ultimately, I think I have to choose between George Pickens and Nico, and I think I'm going to go Nico. Whenever he's on
Ooh,
the
okay.
field, he's just an absolute demon. He was kind of gapping Jamar Chase in that 2024 season,
Mhm.
or not gapping, but in terms of yards, he was gapping pretty much everyone else in the league. Um, and like last year, he still played very, very well, like great in real life receiver. And maybe we see like a step up from the Texans offense, or maybe just like a step out of hell from whatever that was at points from last year's season. So I start wide receiver here, which I don't like doing at all. So maybe that tells me I need to stick away from the 104 in other drafts. So here's another tough spot for me. I still don't like the running backs on the board all that much. Like Josh Jacobs has questions. I think like out of these, like top five ish guys on the board, I probably feel best about Kyron and Javante.
Mhm.
Um, but like I don't really know how good of real life players that those guys are. I really don't want to take a quarterback this early. And if I'm looking at like RB options like further down the board, that may just have to be where I'm going. So uh, I don't think he's going to make it back to me. I think I'm going to take Colston Loveland here. Um,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
maybe a bit of a reach in the third round, but honestly, like I feel like his upside is like the tight end one by kind of a
Mhm.
lot. Just because you look at like Bowers and McBride and their offensive situations are just so much worse than Colston Loveland's. And Colston Loveland could easily be like the top target in a Ben Johnson offense.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of just think like the sky's the limit for where he's at. And at a onesie position, um, in like a 12-man league, I feel like that's pretty important. In like a 10-man league, not as important because uh like 60% of the guys are, the top six tight ends in a 10-man league. Those are the viable guys that you kind of want as like your difference makers. Whereas
Mhm.
like in a 12-man league, those are two other teams that don't have like that top six tight end.
Yep.
So like I feel like the onesie positions are maybe a little more getting pushed up the board in a 12-man versus a 10-man.
Yeah,
But yeah, like love them a lot. So
I don't mind that take at all, especially like you said, in a 12-man league, it really does change things because you have that many added spots for guys to take them away from you. And I think Colson Loveland's in for a big year. We all know what happened last year when I evaluated Loveland as a non-first round pick in the draft. Obviously, at the end of last season, the second half, he came alive, was more fantasy viable, and in the playoffs, he kind of even took a higher step up. I do think this year that they will use him very heavily in Chicago. So I don't mind that pick at all. What I do mind is Chris Olave going a spot ahead of me. This guy, this robot team number 7 has sniped Amon-Ra St. Brown and Olave from me. And for everyone
And some
out
Kenneth
there,
Walker right after you.
yeah, his team, I'm really digging this 7 team. I'm digging
Yeah.
this. But that being said here, I'm either going receiver or tight end. Like you said, Sturb, I'm not really a big fan of taking a quarterback in the top, I would say 5 rounds. I really don't even necessarily consider it unless you want to go Josh Allen. I think that's a fair pick because of the rushing ability and the fact that he is a guy that once they get to the 1 yard line, they'll run the tush push. It's the same with Jalen Hurts, but I'm not as big of a fan of Jalen Hurts in terms of the passing game production. So I'm sticking away from quarterback here. If I wanted to screw someone, I could just go running back again, but I think I'm going to go back-to-back receivers or a receiver tight end combo here. If I'm looking at this receiver market, it's not the best at the top, right? You have T. Higgins, who's the receiver 2 on his team, which, yes, he is productive, but I don't like taking a receiver 2 over receiver 1, so I'm not going to take T here. You got Devontae Smith, T. Mac, Ladd, Amika, Zay, or Garrett Wilson, even Jalen Waddle. I think those are the guys that I would even possibly consider picking from in this tier. That being said, I think Devontae Smith, as good of a receiver as he is, I think will be relatively limited in the Eagles offense. I'm still not high on them. I know they got a new offensive coordinator, a new mind. It's not Patullo anymore, limiting their pass scheme. But I don't love Jalen Hurts throwing the football. T Mac, don't love him being thrown the football either from Bryce Young. We just saw him in joint practices, albeit against the Texans, who are probably the best defense in the league. The Rams obviously are there as well, but in terms of well-roundedness, I think the Texans may have them beat just because they're stacked across the board. I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey here at my pick at the 3-8 because Ladd McConkey, Sturb, we talked about him last week. I think Ladd is just a guy that will explode in that offense. Justin Herbert's going to have a big season this year. He may not be successful win-wise. You never know with him. He might not make it to the playoffs, but that doesn't matter. In the regular season, Justin Herbert will be productive. Ladd will ball out this season. Last year, discounted his price. He falls to me at 3-8 here, so I'm perfectly happy with that pick. And then look at the turn, Devontae Smith still available, T-Mac still available, Garrett Wilson still available, Jalen Waddle still available. Those are the 4 guys I'm looking at here. Obviously, Ladd McConkey has bye week number 7, so you don't want to take anyone with that again. No, all these guys are good, clear from that. Do I take Jalen Waddle here, who we talked about last week as well, as a guy that is a sleeper? Possibly. I'm really looking, my 2 favorite picks here are Garrett Wilson or T-Mac. T-Mac's going to be working more from the slot this upcoming season. I think he's going to have more production than he did last year in the red zone as well, more touchdowns. It's a pain to pick a Panther for me though. Sturb, would you take a Panther here at 4
I would take Waddle.
4
I
5?
would take Waddle over all
You
those
take
guys.
Waddle.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
would. Me personally.
He has the best quarterback. He does have the best quarterback.
Gino has something to say about. No, I'm kidding.
Gino and Co. and Klubnik and all of them. It's tempting. I have T Mac and Jalen Waddle in Dynasty, so I'm loyal to both these guys. I swear I'm not sleeping on Waddle. I'll go T Mac here just because I think he has a higher upside just because he's such a good receiver. But I do think Bryce Young could limit him and possibly Jalen Waddle could be the better pick there, 100%. Sturb, what are your thoughts on your upcoming pick?
Yeah, for my upcoming pick, I kind of need to go running back here, and I think it fell pretty nicely to me with Travis Etienne there.
Mhm.
I'm like looking to see if I would rather take anyone else. Like I would firmly have him over Dave Montgomery just because like the
Oh
pass
yeah.
catching, and I expect the offense to be like a little better. Um, and then like Trevion, Quinshawn, I don't think those guys are really arguable. Like maybe you could argue Swift, but Swift is probably going to get back around to me. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go Travis Etienne right here and feel pretty comfortable doing it.
I think I think he's in for a huge year this season. I know there are a lot of people outside of the Saints fan base don't really see that, but Kellen Moore loves giving the ball to his running back. He's going to rely on him, and apparently they're switching to an outside zone run scheme,
Yeah.
allegedly. So that bodes well for him.
Yeah, for sure. So now it's probably going to be Swift for me on the turn back. I would have it. Yeah, like I just mentioned, I feel like he's a pretty good pick. Could he lose some work to Monungai for sure? But also like I feel pretty comfortable as those guys as like my RB1 and my RB2, and then those are my fourth and fifth round picks. Um, Again, it's not exactly how we drew it up here, but like the wide receiver options, I feel like are pretty dried up at this point.
Mhm.
Obviously, I already have my tight end, and then we talked about quarterback. I just want to wait till later, so I'm going to take DeAndre Swift here.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I'm a big DeAndre Swift believer, especially in once you get to these rounds, because I think he has such a discounted value, and we've seen numerous times this offseason Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams say they wanted to be the most productive, highest scoring offense of all time, and when that happens, you're going to need a running back that's running the ball well, is scoring in the red zone. DeAndre Swift will be doing that this upcoming season, and I think his value in the fifth round is a great pick. So I really don't mind that pick
Also,
there at all.
yeah,
Go
also
ahead, go
another
ahead.
thing with like the Bears and the Lions, I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, well, they'll get into negative games or sorry, maybe negative or shootout game scripts." But the thing that I like about the Bears and Lions specifically is that like even if they're up 20, they will keep their starters in and they will try
Mhm.
to score on every single play that they possibly can. I think there was a game, I can't remember if it was I can't even remember if it was the Lions or the Bears last year, but they just like relentlessly scored, and I think they put up like 52 on someone, and that game was over by like the mid second quarter. I want to say it was maybe Cardinals game. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they don't even need to be in a negative game script. Like these guys are going to try and put up points with their starters
Yep.
as much as they possibly can, and they kind of just have like that fu and like running up the score mentality to where they're not going to take their foot off the gas. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's another factor that I see with like the Lions and the Bears specifically that I really like for fantasy.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely Ben Johnson coming from the
Yeah.
Lions still do it. They definitely go for it still. I think that's Dan Campbell's doing. But you see just
Well,
the
it's not so much to go for
aggression.
it. It's that like the big wins, they will still keep
Mhm.
in their guys. And that's
Yeah.
like probably 2 or 3 games a year where, you're getting an additional probably 5 to 6 points out of
Mhm.
your guys, which is pretty big on any given week. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I 100% agree. And look, I know I just said 2 rounds ago that I'm not going quarterback in the top 5 rounds. But if Joe Burrow falls to me at this pick at the 5-8 and I already have Chase Brown, I got to take Joe Burrow. And let me give my reasoning here. I'm a very firm believer, at least in these sorts of leagues, that if you have the quarterback and the running back, it is a massive addition to your lineup, especially if it's a very productive fantasy team or a productive NFL team. If they score for the majority of the runs, it will be Chase Brown. For the majority of the passes, hopefully this season, as long as he's healthy, it will be Joe Burrow. So no matter if the Bengals score, for the most part, unless it's a fullback or it's what's his face, Piran getting a touchdown, you're getting points when the Bengals score. And I think that's just a great bonus for your team because the Bengals are going to be scoring a lot this season. So I do like taking Joe Burrow here. But that being said, I don't love taking a quarterback in the top 5 rounds. That's just kind of it fell to my lap. I didn't love necessarily taking DJ Moore there. I could have done that, but he had the same bye week, obviously, as Lad. So I'm not really high on that pick, just knowing I'm having 2 receivers in the same bye week. That being said, here at 6-5, I'm either going receiver or tight end. Like you said, Sturb, the tight end fall off is real once you reach a certain point. The level of playmaker that you are getting on your team is much different, and it has a less of an impact on your fantasy team. So the two tight ends that I think really are sort of like the last highest ceiling guys available, Tucker Kraft or Kyle Pitts. And saying Kyle Pitts is just like a dagger. And it's honestly, it could be another year. Like he could have just finished the season strong last season, and then this year goes back to what he has been, right? Where he doesn't really do that much. He's just another athletically gifted player that doesn't put up production to what people expect. That could 100% happen. That being said, Tucker Kraft is a guy that when him and Jordan Love truly do I mean, right now, I will say this. Last year, when Tucker Kraft was healthy, it really did look like him and Jordan Love were on another level with their connection. Tucker Kraft's yard or run after catch ability is so beneficial when it comes to his fantasy scores and his fantasy points. I'm gonna go with Tucker Kraft here. I really like Tucker for the upcoming season. I don't really love the Packers receiver room. I know that they have wealth in numbers, but they don't necessarily have wealth in what the players are. I don't think any of those players are a true wide receiver one or an X receiver for the team. Obviously, Christian Watson, maybe if he's healthy, but we see that he really isn't healthy that often. And then Matthew Golden is an unknown. Tucker Kraft is a known when he's healthy, and I believe he will be back and better than ever for this upcoming season. So give me Tucker here. Sturb, what are your thoughts on your upcoming pick?
Yeah, I was probably gonna go Rome, full disclosure, but he went one pick before me, which kind of sucks.
Got sniped.
Yeah, I know I got sniped. I could just play Kyle Pitts in my flex spot, but I'm not. I'm feeling crazy, not that crazy. Um, I don't mind like the kind of weirdo picks of like Christian Watson and Jalen Warren here. Like I feel like Jalen Warren is going to get a lot of those checkdowns, a lot of that Kenneth Gainwell work. You know, he was kind of just like an RB2 flex-ish sort of play at points last year, but I feel like it's just very low ceiling, and I'd rather just like play the waiver wire for my
Mhm.
RB3 or just like punt later down the board. So I don't like I don't necessarily love that. For the wide receivers on the board, like I said, Christian Watson, like Brian Thomas is up there. Obviously, your guy Parker Washington is on here as well. I don't hate that. And then QB, I still just want to wait. So I think I'm gonna go Christian Watson here. Like when he was on the field, he was pretty clearly the one in Green
Mhm.
Bay, and now you like clear out some of that room. You kind of silo these guys into their specific roles. And I feel very good about being attached to Jordan Love and a Matt LaFleur offense. So I feel pretty good about having Christian Watson as my third wide receiver off the board here. So yeah,
All right, on the turn. Let's see who falls to you. What do you got
Parker
here?
went and Jalen Warren went. So man, it's tough because a couple of the wide receivers that I was kind of looking at are kind of off the board now.
Mhm.
Like a couple of the guys I kind of got to scroll down for. Like I think Cortland Sutton's pretty high in sleeper ADP. Sleeper ADP, you got to watch out for it. Like there are a couple of guys that are
It's iffy.
definitely buried.
Mhm.
Like Michael Pittman is down there, Josh Downs is down there. I wouldn't like absolutely hate taking a shot on him here. Quentin Johnson, who we talked about in our sleepers. But here, man, I probably would lean like taking a running back, but man, there's just not a lot of good ones on the board. Um, for quarterback, like you obviously have Dak, you have Herbert, and maybe I feel the best about some of those guys. Like I feel like Dak obviously last year was a very elite quarterback both in
Yep.
real life. He was pretty good in fantasy as well. Dart can scoot a little bit. Herbert, I honestly just think is going to go nuclear. So I feel like I kind of got to take him here. And then some of the running backs, like I feel comfortable like passing a couple rounds and taking like more handcuff guys than like committee guys that I don't think are very good, like Chuba Hubbard or RJ Harvey.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna go Herbert here.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick there at all. And one thing I noticed while you're talking is Team 9 is really messing this board up, taking
Yeah, team not I don't
5
know it.
running backs in a row.
Sleepers got to fix them.
Team 9 is
Bye.
messing us up. Team 10 doesn't have a single running back.
Yeah,
Like, obviously, your boards will fall a little bit different in these
those probably cancel
situations.
each other out a little bit though. So
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's kinda how it works, but, yeah, I'm
you
not a
never heard
fan
of
of what
the
the
five running backs in Harold Fandon strategy?
hey, maybe this season that's the move.
Maybe it'll work.
May
Maybe it'll work.
maybe they know something we don't. That's the issue.
They gotta.
Yeah, I would have loved to get Parker Washington here. I was very surprised he went at 6'12". That kinda bums me out a little bit, I'm gonna be honest. I have to go receiver. You could go I mean, honestly, I could go a guy like George Kittle. I do still think he'll be productive this season. He is back healthy now. That is a If this were a tight end premium, obviously he would have gone probably earlier already. I don't mind that pick. I think George Kittle's going to be a very productive player again this year. Looking at the receivers, like you said, Sturb, some of the guys that I like are a little bit lower on the board, just in terms of sleeper ADP. I mean, Chuba Hubbard is a guy that if he's healthy, he'll get a good amount of reps, obviously get a good amount of touches. Don't love taking him here at this spot. I'm regretting the Joe Burrow pick already, but I wanted to get that pairing going. Um, Listen, Jordan Tyson is a guy that I don't think you can take here. You have to wait later on. He's a guy that will be fantasy viable when he is healthy, but he's not, so I can't take him here. I think I'm really looking at Michael Wilson or Josh Downs. Those are really my two top players here at this choice. Josh Downs is a guy that will be getting a lot of targets in the Colts offense. It'll be mainly him and Tyler Warren. Alec Pierce is not going to. I just don't think he's going to be able to play week one. I don't think he's going to be ready to play to start
You're
the
not taking your
season.
boy Michael Wilson?
I could. I could. This is what I'm
I would
saying.
have
Is
thought
it's
that would have
between
been your
those
pick.
two. It's between these two. But I had to give the spiel. I will say I have Jonathan Taylor, so I really can't go to Colts. I don't love going to Colts, especially when the second one is like an iffier wide receiver. So I'm gonna go Michael Wilson because, like Sturb said, this is my guy. If I went with Chase Brown, I got to go with Michael Wilson. He's going to be so productive for the Cardinals this year, especially with Jacoby Brissett just chucking the ball absolutely everywhere on the field. So give me Michael Wilson. Sturb, I know you're not as high on him. I know you are lower on him.
I mean, just hearing like productive Cardinals, there's something about that.
He
Like,
did it last year. He did it.
yeah, I
They
know,
weren't
I
winning
know,
games. They weren't winning games,
I know.
but he was putting up some numbers. Next, let me just say Matthew Golden on the sleeper ADP is way too low. I think he's
Yeah,
he's he's way too low. Him and KC as well. I
criminally
mean,
low.
yes, I know that Deshaun Watson was named the starter, and I know that Cleveland fans aren't happy with that. But he's going to be a productive player, especially when it comes to the red zone. That is points on your team right there. That being said, maybe I go another tight end. I think I'm gonna go Kittle here, just because I think he has the highest ceiling out of the guys still on this board. Because if other guys are going down, if I'm just looking at the teams around him, the 49ers, they have Stribling, they have CMC, but last year Kittle in the pass game was their number one target. Give me Kittle to follow up Tucker Craft with a higher ceiling than a lot of the guys on the board there. What are your thoughts on the Kittle pick, Sturb?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Especially since you have, well, actually both of these guys coming off of injury, like maybe week one, you
It's
don't
iffy.
really have like
It's yeah.
a starting tight end. Especially because the chatter is that he's not going to make the
Don't
Australia
worry.
trip.
I'll just get Jawan for week one off the
Oh,
board.
I already know you're drafting Jawan. So, um, yeah, I guess I don't mind it. I mean, he's just older, and if he gets injured, he gets injured. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're in like the eighth round right
It's a
now. So
swing. It's a swing pick for sure.
yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I've already drafted two running backs. I feel like okay about my running backs.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I would want to lean wide receiver here, but like no one is really screaming to me off the board. Um, One of the guys that I wanted to mention on our sleeper episode, and I actually can't recall if I mentioned his name. Well, actually, two guys that I wanted to mention were Blake Corum and Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks could be like the lead back sooner rather than later in
Yep.
Carolina. It wouldn't really surprise me. Now, is it going to be that fruitful of a situation with like their you their quarterback? I don't know. But he could just he was a pretty prolific receiver in college and in a PPR league.
Mhm.
Like I could see him getting a couple receptions a game. Like maybe sneaks in for a touchdown. He could be like a RB2 sort of flex play come mid season. Another guy that I really like is Blake Corum. Is just like the pass catching upside really isn't there, and I think he kind of needs to like ice out Kyron for that early down and goal line work, which maybe pretty unlikely, but I do think like as a pure runner, Blake Corum is just better, and he's definitely on a better offense than Jonathan Brooks. So I think I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks for the upside here, because I think the odds that each of these guys just dispel their running back ones are not quite even. Like I think it's much more likely that Jonathan
What
Brooks
are
does.
What are
rather
your
than
thoughts on
Corum.
what are your thoughts on Bill?
I don't hate it. It's just like he's another like early down runner, and I don't really expect that
Mhm.
offense to be like that prolific. And it's also like sure you're competing against like lesser quality backs, but there's also more of them, so like they could
Yep.
use them in a sort of variety of ways. But I do like him as like a sleeper. Like this running back range really not that bad, and I feel like they're not going to be taken like a whole lot. Like your guy Jordan Mason is on like in this range. I don't think that's crazy to like take him here or around later. But maybe you'll get into that. But for now, I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks.
All right, on the turn, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm still looking to like fill out my flex position. What flex? Oh my god, flex positions here. Blake Corum, Kyle Monangai go. So like maybe I lean towards a bit of a wide receiver like Josh Downs. I kind of like you mentioned. Um, I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of these guys I can just kind of wait on.
Yep.
And I already took Christian Watson, so like maybe I don't want to take Matthew Golden, but like out of these guys, he's probably who I would take to be honest. So it's kind of between Matthew Golden and like I guess Bill here. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna take Matthew Golden. I think I'm gonna take Matthew Golden, and
Doubling up
maybe
on the Packers.
yeah, maybe over Jordan Addison is like a little crazy, but I also just like don't like watching Jordan Addison that much. So yeah, I'm gonna take Matthew Golden.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. And then you mentioned the name earlier. It's between Jordan Mason or Bill for me if I'm looking at I need a backup running back now if you're looking at my team. That being said, Jordan Mason has the same bye week as Chase Brown. So if you're going into this and you need a backup running back, you can't go and get a guy that's the same bye week, especially if you're going for, oh, I want a guy that I could start on that bye week to replace him and give me a viable starter. I think I'm going to give a swing here and go with Bill just because I think he maybe has the same necessarily upside as Jordan Mason does. Jordan Mason already is splitting reps with Aaron Jones. Bill may, establish himself as the running back one for the Commanders, and maybe that is more viable for my fantasy team than Jordan Mason. But I if it weren't for Chase Brown having the same bye week, I would definitely go with Jordan Mason here because I do think he'll win that running back one position, and I think he's going to be great for the Vikings this upcoming season. That being said, moving on to my next pick, where let's see, is he still available? Did Boston go off the board?
No, he's further down.
Jeez. I should not
Yeah,
yet.
I know.
165. This is the range realistically where he should be going. And I'm going to take him here just because I don't think he'd be available realistically outside of this. All three of these guys right here, Dejon Stribling, Jacoby Lane, Denzel Boston, all realistically, according to training camp, beat reporters, things like that, all three of these guys could be the receiver ones for their team. So I would not mind if anyone picked these guys. But Denzel Boston, I know, is going to be I can't say I know because I haven't seen it. It hasn't played in regular season, but I have a very strong inkling that he will be more productive than guys at the top. This Stephon Diggs. I mean, come on. What are we doing? What are we doing with Stephon Diggs? I like Stephon
Stephon could
Diggs.
easily be more productive week one than
He
Stribling,
could
dude.
be, but I don't need these guys in week one. I got my
You don't need
starters.
that baby mama drama.
I don't need that baby mama drama, sir. I don't need that. No, that yeah, like look, I'm picking my backups here, and I want guys that maybe a few weeks into the season establish themselves as fantasy players. And I'd really love Deshaun Stribling, Denzel. I might have to go with Deshaun Stribling here if he's above Denzel. I know no one else is going to take him unless you take him in the next round. So I might go.
I like other guys more. So
Okay, that's fair.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm going to go Stribling here. I think he's going to be the receiver one for the 49ers. And if he does end up being the receiver one, I have George Kittle. So whoever, I think either of those guys will be the target, the main target for the 49ers. So I could slot in whichever one does become that receiver one threat. They have Mike Evans. Do I really believe in Mike Evans at this ripe old age of what is he, like 33? No, I really don't. Maybe he'll be a guy that vet presence gets them a few first downs every single game, maybe a touchdown here and there, but I think Deshaun Stribling is going to be the guy for them. So I'll pick him in this round. Sturb, what are your thoughts on your upcoming pick?
Yeah, I was thinking about going running back here, and I feel like honestly the sleeper our running back like ADP is pretty bad, to be honest. Like I feel like there's a lot of guys that are just clearly misranked, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
wait on those and then just take them later. Um, so I think I'm gonna take another wide receiver here. I obviously mentioned that I liked other guys on the board when you're still taking Stribling. Quinn Johnston got quote unquote overdrafted by one of the sleeper bots. Team Seven just cleaning up on guys that I like, but um, still got a couple guys that I do like on the board. Like I don't think I have to give like any more of a spiel on Casey Concepcion. I think I'm just going to take him here. I've talked about him in probably 75% of the other episodes, so just
Yep.
click on any of them and hear me talk about him. But I'm going to go KC here.
Yeah, I like the pick. I'm perfectly fine with that. And I think we're kind of in that range of we're gonna take our sleepers if they're on the board. So
Yeah, we're just going to take our guys, and then here it's another guy that I mentioned as a sleeper, but could easily be the most talented wide receiver on like a potential top five offense with a guy who was playing at an MVP level last year with like a top five play caller. And I'm going to take Travis Hunter. Um, I know it's like I talked about him earlier. He's at 168 ADP on sleeper or rank
mhm.
on sleeper. It's just absolutely criminal. Like in no scenario should he be going this low because that ceiling is just so ridiculously high. Um, and again, I can cut my 11th round pick and not feel that bad about it. And if I really wanted to, like if you're playing on sleeper and you're not playing with, or if you're like playing with like bot ass league mates, you can take him in like the 14th round. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that crazy. So I just like wanted to get ahead of it, wanted to get ahead of the curve and take him at a price that I think is more fair for the ceiling that he could reach. But yeah, I obviously talked about him a lot last episode, but just getting a guy who's like this talented in a offense without like a clear number one wide receiver is just crazy, crazy value to me. And if he ends up playing zero offensive snaps, I will be glad. I will be glad that I took this bet anyways, and then I can just drop him. Like I'll
Yeah, you
feel
you
perfectly
can
fine about it.
you can replace them. And
Yeah,
like you said, we're in the later rounds. You're not necessarily, you're not missing, you're not upset if you reach on someone in this round and then end up replacing him later on.
yeah.
Sir, but what are your thoughts on when players should start taking defenses or kickers in leagues that still have those?
It depends on my league mates a lot. So like one of the leagues that I play in, that's like my season long league, which is actually the
Mhm.
only league I play in with like kickers or defense. I feel kind of comfortable taking them kind of early if I do feel like it's an elite defense. Kickers, like not so much because kickers vary a whole lot more, but I feel like we feel pretty good about a few defenses this year. Like
Mhm.
we see the Rams go, the Texans go, Seahawks, Eagles. Um, I'm probably more prone to overdrafting those in leagues that I feel like I can get these sleepers on the backgrounds
Yep.
where they're going to be taking like a backup quarterback or like a backup tight end that they're just going to drop the next week anyways. So like it kind of just comes down to knowing your league. But like basically the more or the softer your competition is, the more you can take defense and kickers higher is kind of always
Yeah.
how I've played it, and it's played out pretty nicely. So
Yeah, and I think if you're not taking a top 5 defense, if they're
yeah,
already
just wait,
gone, don't even
just wait.
don't even worry about them. Kickers, it's probably the same unless you know that you're picking someone that is going to nail every single long kick, 1, and plays in a fair weather or is on a team that whose schedule is going to be relatively fair weather. That's kind of when you take a kicker early there. But I'm not gonna go kicker or defense here. I'm gonna go with my backup quarterback because I'm scared that a sleeper bot will take a backup quarterback here more than I am some of these receivers and other guys that I like. I'm gonna go Brock Purdy because I would go Jared Goff if Joe Burrow didn't have the same bye week because I do think Jared Goff is just a productive fantasy quarterback year after year. I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy. I already have his receiver and his tight end. So again, it'll be at least a pairing whenever he ends up playing and backing up Joe Burrow. That being said, on my next pick, I could either go another running back here, give me a second backup running back, or I could go another receiver that I really like. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to go Denzel Boston. I will also say Cyrus Allen should be off the boards by now. I think Cyrus Allen will be a very productive player for the Chiefs if everything that we're seeing from training camp comes true. Him and Patrick Mahomes truly do seem to have a great connection more than Rashee Rice. I don't think we've talked about this on the pod. Rashee Rice does not look like he can move or separate from any NFL cornerback at this current time. I just don't think he can. His hips are very, very, very tight. His knee maybe didn't heal correctly. We don't know. Obviously, he had to rehab in a jail cell for 30 days. I do not like what I'm seeing from Rashee Rice, and I love what I'm seeing from Cyrus Allen. If Cyrus Allen is still on your board, 100% take him in these situations. You know, I think I talked myself. I think I'm gonna have to take Cyrus over Denzel Boston here. And if he falls back to me, I'll take Denzel. But give me Cyrus here with this pick. Sir, what do you got with your next pick here?
Yeah, so with my next pick, I'm still probably looking to build up flexes. I pretty much like can't stand taking backup quarterbacks, to be honest.
Mhm.
If I'm taking like anyone close to decent or like not injured,
Yep.
just because like every single year without fail, unless you're playing in like a league that drafts backup quarterbacks and then
There's
the
gonna be
league like
someone.
doesn't check or like doesn't edit their lineup at all, which why are you playing that league anyways? Why are the only one checking your lineup? There's gonna be quarterbacks on the waiver wire, like pretty
Yeah.
much every week. Like I can guarantee you that I at some point will be able to pick up Jared Goff on the waiver wire. It just happens every single year. So like I don't really like taking a backup tight end either, especially if I took one in the third round. Um, so I'm kind of just looking at like some upside plays at running back and wide receiver. Like Keaton Mitchell is kind of staring me down as like someone I might want to target. Um, yeah, like Denzel Boston's still on the board. I already took KC. Like I don't really love doubling up on the Browns there, but like because I feel like one of them or the other could definitely hit, but they're hindered by the
Mhm.
exact same thing, which is the quarterback situation, not by their own individual talent. Um, Another guy that I'm looking at is like Jalen Coker, big Jalen Coker fan here, but like again, I don't know how good that pass offense is really going to be. Um, yeah, I mentioned Tajay as well. Mike Washington's still on the board. Um, Maybe I go for like that high end handcuff and just take Mike Washington and see what happens with Genty's health. But also, like if Genty is unhealthy, I don't think it's just going to be Mike Washington week one in that backfield. I think they'll probably bring in a veteran of some sort. Um, but I think all things considered, I think I'm gonna go Tajay. I think like the workload concerns are definitely there with like his injury history. But like until the wheels fall off, I feel like he could. It's not like out of the realm that he just gets like 60% of the carries in week one and then like
Mhm.
increases from there. Obviously, I talked about him last episode, but he's obviously like much more of a pass catcher than Tony Pollard. And Tony Pollard is still a decent pass catcher, but like Tajay is kind of on that next level of pass catching. Um, and maybe this offense is good. Who knows? I mean, this offense kind of looks like a complete dumpster fire clown show, but
Yeah.
maybe they turn it around in the regular season. I'm not trusting it, but like in the 12th round, I'll take a shot. So yeah, yeah. So Jalen Coker does go off the board here, which is kind of unfortunate. Um, yeah, like Denzel, I could definitely see it. Kayshawn Booty, now the two in the Texans. I don't hate that. Um, Besides that, I think there's another guy that's kind of staring me down, but he's not going to go until later. So I think I'm going to go like another like high end handcuff, and then maybe he plays into something like further into the season, or um, if his starter does get injured, I think it'll be more of a committee, but I expect the offense to be pretty good. I'm going to go Keaton Mitchell here. I obviously already have his quarterback, um, but he may be a guy that's definitely going to be difficult to know when to start because I feel like he's
Yeah.
going to have like a lot of those spike games, a few games with like 2.3 fantasy points when he was supposed to like, spike or get all the carries. And it's just
Yeah.
Kamani Vidal over and over again if Hampton does get injured. But like, I feel like it's a pretty good ceiling play. I feel like in most leagues, he'd probably be off the board by now. Just because he's like, if you look up like 2026 fantasy sleepers, like I feel like one of the first 5 names is Keaton Mitchell. But yeah, I feel like it could be, this offense could go nuclear and getting the backup, like very, very explosive running back. I definitely don't hate it in Mike McDaniel offense. So
Yeah. No, I like the pick there as well. I'm looking at Denzel Boston here. I've been looking at him for the last 5
oh,
rounds
you don't
because
say.
he should be gone. But I'm going to go kicker here just because I do think a sleeper bot will snipe me if I don't. I'm going to go Harrison Mavis. I think it's just Mevis, but
Mevis,
obviously
yeah.
the Rams are playing their home games in a dome. That's an advantage if I'm looking at a kicker. Also, when you have an offense as explosive as the Rams, you only need a couple first downs to really get into NFL field goal range at this point. So I do think that he's going to have opportunities out the ass to give me fantasy points. So give me Harrison Mevis here. And then I have to go defense and then receiver, but I'll go. I'm going to go Denzel Boston here first. He's still available. Fell right in my lap. Give me Denzel on the bench. Very, very, very bullish on the rookie receivers the upcoming season. We talked about that in our sleeper episode as well. But those guys, I think, all have chances to be really, really good players for fantasy. Starb, what are you looking here? You got to
Yeah,
go
I'm looking at.
defense and kicker, right?
Yeah, I have to go defense and kicker. I didn't realize how not good about the defenses I felt. Um,
It's rough once you get
yeah,
into the.
it's kind of bad. I'm wondering if teams took multiple defenses. I can't really tell right now. Um, I don't think they did, but I don't really get
No, it's just
why
it's
the Steelers are like the next one in terms of ADP off the board.
the
Uh,
vets,
the
man.
the Cowboys are up there for some reason. Um, I don't know. Like I feel like in terms of fantasy,
Mhm.
maybe I feel the best about like the Bills. I don't even know. I don't even know, dude.
You got to
It's
take
like
into
it's
account
damn,
like
it's kind of rough out here.
I think you got to take into account like who they're playing. I
Yeah,
think that plays
yeah.
into
I
it
don't
for
have all
sure.
their week one matchups in front of me, but like at this point, I'm definitely streaming
Mhm.
defense week by week. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. Like I could be like a homer and say the Saints here, like Bengals. I expect to like be a little better. Um, Chiefs, I don't think are going to be that bad. I don't know, bro. I don't
Ty
know, bro.
would Ty would disagree. He might hang you at, or tar and feather you if he heard you say that the Chiefs defense would be good.
I don't think it's going to be good, but like Ty, look at the board here, bro. Like we're talking about fantasy defenses, and the Steelers are at the top. I don't know. I'm just gonna scroll and pick one. Sure, we'll go the Bills. Sure,
Yeah, I
there
don't
you
mind
go.
that. I don't
Jim
mind that
Leonard,
take
there
it
you go,
all.
Ty.
Like you just said, I don't think any of these teams are really
Yeah, I'm
where you
streaming
want to
and
be.
looking at week one, and whoever's playing the worst team, that's who I would take. But I don't have that in front of me, so
Yeah,
sue me, I guess.
yeah. Like you said, Sturb, that I'm just gonna be a homer. I hate to break it to everyone out there
No,
when I'm
it's
on the
mine.
board.
It's
It's your
okay.
it is your pick. Yeah, I forgot you had the turn. So
It is
kicker,
in
where are you going for
fact.
kicker?
Um, I don't know. It's kind of just like this. This is like astrology at this point. Like,
As long as you're not taking the Saints kicker right now, I think you're good because
yeah,
both of their kickers, outside of Carlson, who just got picked up, are terrible.
I think I'm gonna go Evan McPherson here. I mean,
Yep.
probably like the highest scoring offense like left on the board. I know there's some Trey Smack absolute fanatics out there. But I don't fall into that category quite yet. So I'm going to take Evan McPherson.
Yeah, I'm fine with that pick. I'm gonna go with the Saints defense because I'm a big believer in, especially if you are waiting until defense at the end of the draft,
I try
then
not to be a homer, but like
just take
I could have easily taken the Saints over the
yeah,
Bills,
just
to be
take
honest.
genuinely just take your team. If you're taking the defense in the last round, take your team, then stream whoever has the best schedule. Just do
Yeah.
that.
However, we do get Jahmyr Gibbs week 1. I will say that. So
Yeah. That being said,
it's okay.
I think we'll survive. But anyways, let's take a look at our teams. Obviously, for my team, the starting lineup is going to be Joe Burrow, JT, Chase Brown, Ladd, T Mac, Tucker Craft, Michael Wilson, George Kittle, or Deshaun Stribling, and Harrison Mevis and the Saints defense. Sir, what did your starting lineup end up being?
You can select the drop down as well and show mine
Yeah,
on the screen if you'd like.
I got you.
Oh,
There you go.
the other one.
Oh, right. I
Yeah.
forgot. Hey, let's pull it up. All right, Sturb. Yeah, you got Herbert, Achan, Swift, and Sturb did end up going running backs later than the usual, like we're seeing right now. He ended up going running backs later. I went running back. He went
It's
receiver,
not
tight
how I
end,
drew
running
it
back,
up,
running back.
but
But you
we
still end up
survived.
with two viable running backs here: Justin Herbert, Travis Achan, DeAndre Swift, Puka Nakua, Nico Collins, Colston Loveland, Christian Watson, Jonathan Brooks, Evan McPherson, and obviously you could switch in Brooks with one of your backup receivers
Yeah,
there.
which I would. I'd probably swap in Matthew Golden week 1 and then just like hope I get something out of the Packers wide receiver room, and then yeah, KC, Travis, Tajay, Keaton off the bench. So
Yeah, so that'll do it for our mock draft. Real quickly here, though, we're gonna share my screen real quick, and we're gonna go through a few player milestone picks. Go through and just kind of give our favorite. If we're looking, oh, it reset on me. Hold on, let's find them. Player milestones. Sturb. I guess we can just go through kind of and I think we'll go through the 4,000 yard passing yards just because that's kind of like the harder milestone. It's like the average kind of good quarterback season is 4,000 yards this point in time. What are the good lines here that not necessarily value wise, but quarterbacks that you think you're confident enough to bet on, regardless of the line? Just you're confident enough to
oh,
bet on
regardless
this
of the
season.
line,
Yeah, just guys that you would pick
um,
to have 4,000 yards pretty
I mean,
confidently.
obviously, like not looking at like the top guys on the board, but like Dak, I feel is pretty lucky to do that if he
Yep.
stays healthy. And a lot of these features, it is like Jared Goff. If he plays 17 games, it doesn't poop his pants every single one. He's probably going to get to 4,000.
Yep.
T Law sticks out to me, especially at like plus 140. Like further down the board, I think like Herbo and Love.
Mhm.
Like I feel pretty good about those guys, especially at like plus two and sorry plus 200 and then like plus 230.
Yep.
Besides that, I mean, it's probably just like all the top guys. Like obviously, I feel pretty good about Drake May doing it. That's not really like a hot take though.
Yeah.
But I'd probably draw the line at like Jordan Love. I don't think
What
I feel
about
like
you wouldn't
Lamar. I could no Fernando's not doing it. Lamar, I could definitely hear an argument as well, especially because he's at plus 425. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, outside of
Yeah.
that, I don't really feel confident in the other guys.
To all the sickos out there betting on Fernando Mendoza plus or over 4,000 passing yards, please call the number. I'm just looking at you now. Please
Brock Bowers about to have
call the
3,000
number.
yards if that's the case.
Yeah, this is a terrible bet. And here we'll cook up a parlay with our favorite guy from each section that we go through just to see what the value ends up being. Sturb, obviously, I will ask you to give your spiel on the long parlays at the end, but we'll
Yeah.
go through here. And then obviously passing touchdowns, we'll go to 30. 30, I think, is a tougher number. Obviously, I think that we'll see this year. I think maybe a couple guys will reach that number more than last year. But I think we'll see a lot of 25 passing touchdowns this season. But Sturb, what are your thoughts on the guys in this range?
I thought some of the guys in this range, in terms of like guys who stick out to me again at like their value, I'd probably pick out like Love again.
Mhm.
I'd probably pick out Knicks like plus 285. I feel like that's a pretty good value there.
Yep.
Um, Besides that, I don't really know if I'd love anyone else at like 30 plus touchdowns. I guess like Herbert at
I w
plus 200 and
Yeah, I would say
T-Law
Herb.
plus 225 again. Um, yeah, I'd probably say those are the two that stick out to me probably the most.
I would go Herbert here as well, just because I think he's gonna be, like you said, in the McDaniel offense. I think they'll be passing a good amount in the red zone. And yes, Hampton's gonna be getting some touches, obviously, and the rest of the running backs will be getting touches down there too. But Herbert's gonna be in for a big passing year this year. So I would go Herbert here at the plus 200. I like that value. Obviously, Dak is probably another guy that could reach that number, but since we already added that to the parlay, there's no real that kind of doesn't add a whole lot of value to it. And if it adds any value at all, Sturb, I know you'll be hard on that later on. But anyways, receiving yards here, we'll go to plus one over 1,000 because that's kind of the baseline for a receiver one at this current time. You have 17 games to hit 1,000 yards. It's really nowadays you should be hitting 1,000 yards if you're the team's top target. Who do you like value wise on this board?
Well, I see where she writes there, which is actually pretty funny. I feel like Jalen Waddle like pretty easily
Mhm.
compared to yeah, compared to
Yeah,
everyone else.
I do like Jalen Waddle
That's
being
like
plus
it's like a
here.
sore thumb.
Jalen Waddle having the same value as Jameson Williams just doesn't seem. I know Jameson Williams is a guy that can do it, especially in a heavy passing offense just because of his big playability, but I don't love that you're banking on him having more, long distance targets, just having a bunch of those versus just being a normal productive receiver. If you're betting on Jalen Waddle, I think he's gonna be a guy that's having 6 catches a game and then is reaching like 70 to 100 yards every single game. If you're looking at Jameson, he could have 1 week where he has 2 catches for 20 yards, and then the next week he has 4 for 100, and then he reaches that 1,000 yards. So I think it's more of based on kind of who you're just expecting to be more consistent. I would be a lot more confident in Waddle than JMO. So we'll add him to the bet there. Moving on to receiving touchdowns, sir, what number would you go on here? Would you go to up to 8 or would you keep it at 5? Just
I
in
think
terms
I
of
think let's look at 8 here. Let's look at 8.
okay. What are your thoughts on this range?
Definitely some interesting names. Like Christian Watson was not really on the other ones that we looked at, but I see him at plus
Mhm.
150 here. That's it's definitely interesting.
Olave is plus 165. That
Yeah,
seems
he's plus 165. I'm seeing that.
weak.
I
You're
feel
banking on
like
health for
8.
that.
Feel like AJ is a pretty good bet. Cortland Sutton at plus 125. I understand like he's a red zone threat, but he should not be
That's
like the
yeah.
same as Justin Jefferson.
I mean,
uh
that's what I'm looking at. I mean, Justin Jefferson
yeah,
should
I don't hate it.
get close. I mean, obviously you add Kyler Murray, that's a much better quarterback. I think his value is extremely discounted because of this
They could do
prior
some
season.
extended rollouts in the red zone as well,
Mhm.
especially with like the running back talent not really being there. Obviously like a great everywhere separator, but especially on like the goal line, like he can shake people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of like this one.
I
So
mean, that just
I feel
seems
like we jug at it, Jettas.
I mean, yeah, that I like the value there. I really do. And like you said, the Sutton number is that's a little
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a little generous.
All right, let's go rushing yards. We'll go 1,000 rushing yards. Sturb, who would
How
you
many
eye
how many
here?
legs are we doing?
Doing them all. Doing
Doing
rushing,
them all.
receiving.
All
Rushing
right.
touchdowns is the last one. Rushing touchdowns is the last one.
All right. This is rush yards.
Yes, 1,000 rushing yards here.
This is okay. 1,000 rushing yards. What are we looking at? I mean Kenneth Walker. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah, I
believe.
think he's in for a big season. He should be, I think Devon Chan at plus 100 is kind of a lock. Banking injury. I think he's a lock
Injury
for
or the
1,000.
team just says, "Hey, you're injured."
Yeah, shuts him down and
Yeah,
tanks. That is very
that's more
true.
what I'm concerned about. But
Yeah, that's fair.
Kenneth
They
Walker,
paid
they're
him
gonna
though. I guess yeah. If you pay him, you want him to stay healthy, so you kind of just
or you trade
hey
him.
yeah hey Chan, we're just gonna keep you on the sideline over here. That's a fair take. Kenneth or Brees Hall too. I think Brees Hall could be a guy with their O line this season if they're banking on the O line. But if you're a defensive team going against the Jets and Geno Smith can't throw the football, you're loading the box again. So that does hurt Brees there. So I do like the Kenneth Walker pick here. And then finally, rushing touchdowns, we'll go to 8 just because that's a relatively solid number for like a good running back season in terms of touchdowns. Who would you go here?
Right off the bat, no one's really sticking out to me, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
I think. I mean, yeah.
maybe
Judkins, I think
Swift.
could reach it, but you're banking on a shitty ass offense. Swift isn't a bad take.
Well, I mean,
I don't mind
Quinshawn,
Swift.
like they have a less chance of passing the ball in the end zone than they do Quinshawn
Yeah,
running it in. I
that's what
guess
I
you
was
can make
looking at.
that argument. Um, yeah, I
Dart
feel like
being
that's a
higher,
pretty good argument to make.
Dart being higher than some of these.
Etienne. Yeah,
Yeah, some of these receivers is just insane.
yeah.
I think. I mean, I think Achan, both Achans. Now that we're saying Etienne is Achan, according to him, both of those guys, I think, should be better picks
Above
than
Dart for sure.
than Dart. Yeah. Would you go Quinshawn here? Did you mind
I
that
think I
pick?
would go. I think I would go Quinshawn. I think I would go Quinshawn.
I like that. I don't know.
I don't love it,
Oh, our picks
but
can't be parlayed. Damn it. Damn it. DraftKings. They screwed us. We did all this for nothing. All this for nothing. So
they're not letting us
burn.
spin our slot
They're not letting us
in
put
hope
our
that it
lotto
goes.
out there. I
Yeah.
was gonna put this out there as a nice little clip. And I probably still will. I'll say build this parlay if you want to win money. Is anyone winning money off of this? No.
No.
But if it does hit, if it does, there you go. You've just won a couple grand. And that being said, is that worth betting? To some,
No.
yes. To you, Sturb, no. Give me your reasoning. Give the talk to all of our listeners about the analytical side of betting.
Basically on any given bet that is like a straight bet, mostly like your money line bets or like your spread bets, the book is going to have about a minimum of like an 8% edge. So like if me and you make a bet that like, hey, the Saints plus 7.5 against the Lions week 1, and we just say we're going to bet $10. That's not really how it works. Like the book,
Mhm.
because they are an open market essentially, they will give any bet, or not any bet, but just about any bet to anyone. And because they're so readily available, they can take more of your money. So like them having the access essentially is the middleman, and then they charge you for the edge. So like on a 50% chance to make money that you and I would have, is like a private transaction or whatever, um, they're going to take about 8%. So like on any given dollar that you bet or you make about 42 cents back.
Yep.
Basically the sharpest of the sharps, like all the gambling models or whatever, they will make about 5%, 5 to 6% over the long period of time, which like you have to like work for that and become like basically a statistician. In which case you just make more money by working for someone like FanDuel or DraftKings rather than beating them out in the long term to make 5% return on the money you're already
Mhm.
investing. Um, but basically, when you do things like futures, things like parlays, you are basically just increasing the odds of, or sorry, the edge of the book. So on things like parlays, and it's a stacking effect as well. So something that may go for like a player prop, which is normally around like 8 or 9% edge for the book, when you stack it with another one that's uncorrelated, and then your payout only doubles, that's a lot more or sorry, your payout doesn't even double. It's a lot more edge that the book is getting. So on your dollar, you may only be making 40 cents on any given 2 leg parlay. In any given 3 leg parlay, it's goes much lower, and then it goes much lower and much lower. So basically, to decrease the amount of risk that these books take on, they will um, give you less and less of an edge, because that's more money at risk for them per dollar that you're putting in. So like if you have a $1 bet that pays out like 10,000, they're going to give you they're going to make a lot of money on those bets over time because they can't afford to do that if it hits too many times for too many users. So that's why like the edges are bigger on parlays is because they're trying to mitigate risk and just steadily grow
Yeah.
at that 8% or whatever they're taking. Books probably make on average like a night probably somewhere in that like 12 to 13% range, just because there are so many users that are just putting bad parlays down that are very, very bad EV. Yes. um, but basically, the the best of the best people making like 5% or 6% against the book is pretty much the max over time. And there are definitely individual bets that like if they are well researched or if you have a model that likes them, like over a month you can make like a good amount of money. But for the most part, you're going to lose to the book eventually.
Yeah.
That's how they operate. That's how they stay in business. And if your
And
model is that good, they'll probably just buy you out or give you a
exactly.
job.
Yeah,
So
they'll either give you a job or if you keep winning and things like that, they kind of restrict. I've seen
yeah,
horror stories of like restricting what you're able to bet on and things like that. So
that's another
figure it
thing.
out.
They're able to track every single thing that you're putting in there. And if you're putting in like these optimal or like arbitrage bets where you're putting like $1,000, because you get to a certain point where your bankroll is so big that to make money on all the research that you're doing, you have to put in a lot of money.
Mhm.
Um, they will flag your account. They know exactly what you're doing. And if you're like one of these guys that's like putting in, you know, people call them like laundry bros or like toilet parlays, like stuff that you cook up on the toilet and like throw a couple dollars on. That's mostly what these books are targeting because there's a million of those guys and they just put a couple bucks down. Then you get a million of those guys. It's a lot of money for those books. So they will keep giving you promos at like something that's still an edge for them, like
Yep.
150% profit boost for like a 4 leg parlay or whatever. They don't care about that. They're still making money on everyone that they put out that promo to. So they will tailor the exact promos to your betting history to
Mhm.
keep you in line with their edge and make sure that they're making money on every single customer. So long story short is if you think you're smarter than the book, you're not. Um, but there are ways that you can definitely make money in the short term with gambling. And I'm not like
Keep
I'm not opposed to anyone like making good money off of it because I've seen people make a good amount of money off of it, but it just takes so much time and effort that like, bro, if you just got another job,
yeah.
it'd be more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
moral of the story.
I'm not trying to poop on anyone's fun either. Like
Yeah.
I get it. It's really fun. It's really fun.
If you're making money and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have this expendable budget on just gambling. Like there's
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Like I have no problems with that. If you're getting to the point where you know gambling to the point with money that you can't afford to lose, then yeah, that's where it gets the issue.
Yeah.
But moral of the story, keep the parlays small. That being said, Sturb, the toilet betters, I'm one of them. So give
The
me some
thing
faith
is,
that I have credibility here.
yeah.
I will place the parlays. I will post the parlays. I think this season we'll be giving a parlay at the end of each episode just to talk about it. Will they hit? Probably not, but we'll talk about them and give some
See,
content out to you guys. So,
here's another problem I have with the toilet betters. So my number one thing that I like to like get into sports for is like one, obviously I like love watching football, but another thing is like staying connected with my friends. So like I love having high stakes fantasy leagues with people that
mhm,
I know. But some people that I know in my not high stakes, but like a lot of shit talking fantasy leagues, they complain when I want to increase the buy-in by like $10 a year. Meanwhile, They're
Yeah,
pissing,
they're
they're
throwing
pissing,
that
they're pissing away 10
$10
bucks
a
a
week.
week down the drain on something that they can't even like relate to in like a group chat. You know what I mean? Like they
But
can
if
post like, oh my God, I finally hit this.
exactly, Sturb, if it
Or
does hit, if it hits,
I
it's a
understand if it
lottery.
hits, but like having an electrifying like $250 buy-in fantasy league is just so much more appealing to me, especially because there's almost no edge. There's no book. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah, it's
for the most part, everyone's making that money back. Um, but that is just so much more fun to me than any given like parlay that is probably just going to lose. You know what I mean?
no,
So
I don't mind that take at all. I don't mind that at all. I will say this year we're
we
gonna
should
be
we should 10x fantasy buy-ins and get rid of the parlays. It's the first thing
I
I'm doing if I'm president.
I don't mind it. I don't mind
Yeah.
it. And Sturb is in a spot of the country where he's not able to sports bet, so that
Yeah, I'm
does
also
help.
like I'm the SpongeBob looking or
Yeah,
Squidward looking down at SpongeBob and Patrick meme.
not
So
able to bet. But
yeah.
anyways, I mean, that will do it. Yeah, make sure to comment your guys' thoughts on betting, and then also on the mock drafts. Comment your guys' thoughts on the mock draft. I will say this year we are partnering. Ty has a friend who has a website that helps you pick legs that you can feel more confident in. We are partnering with him this upcoming season. We'll be talking about some of the different legs each week that we like, and using that model that you can use that model to help you when you're placing your bets so you're losing less to the books.
Which
So make
which
sure to keep
actually
an eye
does
out for
have an
that.
edge. The model has an edge. So yes,
Yes.
the model
So
is
it
good.
helps. It helps you.
Yes.
Promise. But anyways, that will do it for this episode. You guys know where to find us on social media at Jenks Island and wherever you get your podcasts at Jenks Island as well. Tune in next week. We'll be giving our awards picks as well as just our preview for the season, who we think are going to win each division, final picks, things like that. And we'll get into that next week. So tune in then. See you guys then.